Welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Energy Podcast. Hi, friends. Today we are going to talk about alchemizing any emotion into money, into success, into literally anything you want it. We're going to talk about that today because I think there's this misconception that in order to manifest, or in order to have the life of your dreams, or in order to make money, it has to be love and light and joy and happiness. And that's when you will be magnetic. That's when you will have all the things, is when you're happy. But I, as someone who has been chronically not happy, um, lots of depression, I struggle with OCD, anxiety, whatever. Um, Years of healing trauma, being in abusive relationships. I can tell you that that is simply just not true. Not only is it not true, but I also know that you can alchemize any emotion into whatever you want because emotions are energy. And regardless of the emotion, you can still transmute it to whatever you want. And we're going to break that down today. Before we do, though, I would love if you love to be a part of this community, if you love listening to the podcast, I would absolutely love for you to leave a 5-star review and tell me why you love this podcast. Obviously, the more reviews we get, the more we can push out this podcast. And I would also love, if you're loving this space, to come to my free community, the Breadwinner Energy Club. The link will be below. Inside the free club is my broadcast channel. We talk in depth about podcast episodes, as well as I have an entire vault of freebies. You'll be the first to know about anything we do, masterclasses, live events, etc. Plus, you have the chance to unlock mini courses inside of the club. So get the link below, join the free club, and let's get into today's episode. So I started my very first business in 2016. And during this time in my life, I was not only really young, I was 23, but I didn't really have a concept on much, but I definitely didn't have a concept on like big life things, business. And I was pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant. I was working at a mental health hospital. I was married to somebody in the military, and I had wrecked credit. I had no degree. I had literally just no money. Again, no concept of life. Like I was just living day to day. And even though I knew that not only do I want to be successful and I want to make a lot of money, but I just didn't know what that took. I was very delusional. Let's say that. I was very delusional back then. But honestly, that worked to my advantage because that was what led me to quitting my job during maternity leave and never returning back to a 9 to 5 since, and creating my own business as a virtual assistant back then. Looking back though, right, the logical thing would not be to quit your 9 to 5 with $100 in your bank account, no degree, wrecked credit, can't get a credit card, can't get a loan, husband's abusive, he's an alcoholic. Like that is not, looking back, that is not a logical reason to start a business. And even up until this point, my entire life from childhood, I had always been, I don't know if bullied is the word, but I've always been like told like you're just so emotional. You're highly emotional, you're highly sensitive, and it was always this negative, right? Like it was always this negative, this is this bad thing about you. And so I would mask that side of me, that overly emotional, overly sensitive side of me, and be what everyone else wanted me to be, essentially, in order to survive in this world. And prior to this, obviously, as a child, I had gone through lots and lots of trauma. I lost my dad to suicide when I was young. I was bullied extensively in school. I lived with my single mom in a trailer. We didn't have money compared to a lot of the other kids at the school that I went to. We lived out of town. We didn't even live in the same town where I went to school. And I was I hated that time of life. Like I genuinely did not enjoy being a child. Like I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but I do remember that like I just didn't want to be a child. I wanted to be an adult so I could like be on my own. And it was strange. It's strange looking back. So I ended up moving out of my parents' house when I was 17. I was about to graduate high school and moving in with two roommates going to college. But I always felt like I just did not fit in. Like I had friends, right? And I loved my friends, and I just didn't feel like I was like seen because I felt like for me, I don't like surface level, right? Like I'm a very in-depth person. I like depth. I like to have deep conversations. I like to understand like the meanings of life. And that's just not popular, right? Like that's not the popular thing is to be like sensitive and emotional and deeply feeling. And so I hid those parts of me for so long. So when I started my business as a virtual assistant back then, it was purely survival based, right? It was like, I want to stay at home with my child and I want to make money. There was no other things than that. And as a child, like I said, I did say, like, I want to be rich and successful and famous. But I never thought of it when I started my business. I never thought, like, being a virtual assistant is going to make me rich and famous. I literally just thought, if this can make me money and I never have to return to a 9 to 5, then I will be happy as can be. And so that's what I did. And I grew that virtual assistant business. And then in 2018, 2 years later, I went through a divorce. I had found out that my husband was cheating, which he had been for a long time. And he was abusive already, physically, mentally, emotionally. And that was like the final straw for me. So I locked my apartment doors. I put all of his things outside the door, and he took his bags and he went back to New York, where he's from. And that was it. And that was kind of it because we had to co-parent, and that's a whole other story that we're not going to get into today. But I spent most of that time from 2016 to 2018 depressed, anxious, overwhelmed, hiding in hermit mode. I would see my family or my mom, or I would just be at home with my daughter. Like I didn't really do anything with my life. I was just a single mom, and my entire life revolved around momming, working, and then seeing my mom and sister. And in that time period, I made more money as an online business owner than I was making at my 9 to 5. And I was highly depressed. Like I was not like happy go lucky by any means. During this time period, manifestation and the law of attraction was introduced to me. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on the podcast before that at the time, I actually didn't believe in it. I didn't believe that, you just think something and you feel something, and then when you think it and feel it, it like comes true. Looking back, that is so hilarious that I don't believe it because now I'm like very, very into that kind of stuff. But I didn't believe it. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And at that point in my life, I was very much just living on autopilot, right? Like going to work, having clients, doing my work, making money, and buying groceries and being a mom. Like I was just in autopilot 24/7. And it wasn't until 2019 that it kind of like woke up in me. I was having a co-parenting situation with my ex-husband, and he physically assaulted me in my kitchen in front of our toddler. And I was able to get away from him, pack our things, go to my mom's, wait for him to leave the co-parenting situation and go back to New York. And we never saw him again. That was the end of that forever. And again, this was really what led me to like my spiritual journey was in this moment. This was like my first spiritual awakening in this time because I felt like I had nothing left to lose, right? I was like, I have spent my entire life up until this point living on autopilot, being a mom from a very young age, growing up at a very young age because I grew up really fast as a child even. And literally my entire life has just been wrapped in like sadness, abandonment, and all negative feelings all the time. I then developed CPTSD, OCD, a plethora of other things. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to know that up until this point in my life, now I'm 32, I have 2 children, I'm remarried, I've made more money than most people in my family. I think pretty much everyone in my family have out earned. I've created success for myself, for my family, for my lineage. And 99% of that income and success has come from transmuting my pain, my trauma, the things that I've been through, my life, and the sadness, the deep rooted sadness that I have in me into money, into success, into whatever I want. And it wasn't because I just wrote affirmations and journaled positive thoughts and said positive things in the mirror. Like that has not been the thing that has created my success. It just hasn't. And so I've thought about this very intently over the last month, I would say, in my life, because I then had a spiritual awakening in 2020, as most people did. I think a lot of the world woke up in 2020. I was one of those people where I had already been more spiritually awake from my first spiritual awakening in 2019. But this was like a more in-depth spiritual awakening as like a collective, not just myself. So that led to that side of that. But that opened the door to my chronic pain journey. And the chronic pain journey then began 2020 into 2021, where I was just having constant pain. And looking back now, knowing what I know now, what I think was happening was that in 2020, we were all in lockdown, right? And it was my favorite. I know that's terrible to say, but I really enjoyed it and I loved it because number one, because of my PTSD, because of my trauma, my entire being has been rooted in safety. And that sounds counterintuitive, right? Because like we're literally in a pandemic. But think of it this way. I'm home. I'm with my husband, who has a very scary job. I'm with my child. We have money. My business is bringing in money, actually more money now than it had before. I get to be with my family every day. We're spending time outside in sunshine. We're spending like quality time together. We have food on the table. Like it was like the most safest part of my life thus far. Wild, right? Like the most safest part of my life was the pandemic. Crazy. But what I think was happening was my nervous system was starting to like be like, okay, we can kind of like start to heal these things, these pieces of our body because you're like relaxing and enjoying life and like having fun. And we haven't done this before. Like we haven't been able to do this. We haven't been able to like truly relax and enjoy life. So my chronic pain flares started at this point in my life. I didn't know what they were at this point. I actually literally found out like 2 months ago. We're going to get to that. So that comes up, that flares up, and it's like constant, it feels like constant UTI pain. I am then having dizzy spells. I can't drive. I can't see. Like it's this entire, I don't even know how to explain it to you. Like it was such an out of body experience of like what is happening to my body. I'm in hospital after hospital after hospital, like every test imaginable, and everyone's like, it's anxiety, it's stress. And I'm like, what? Like that doesn't even make sense. Like I'm literally less stressed and anxious now than I've been forever, right? So it kicked off these cycles of OCD and like being terrified and like looping and like what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? And I'm having these UTI symptoms, but there's no UTI. And it is just the strangest thing and it cripples me. Like it cripples me for a long time. I eventually get put on a long-term antibiotic for 3 years up until my next pregnancy. And um I do that just to like manage pain and symptoms. It like helped, but I would still have flares. So then I have my daughter, my second daughter, and I still have flares throughout my entire pregnancy. I have her, and then I'm flare free for an entire year. And at the time I had been going to the chiropractor, and my the chiropractor was like, your body is in freeze, like it has shut down. It was in fight or flight, now it's in freeze. No flare for an entire year. So I'm thinking, okay, whatever that was, it's gone now. I don't know why I thought that in my brain. Like I don't know what made me think like it's gone now. Nothing happened, nothing changed, but it's gone. No, the truth was I was just in freeze. Like I was in functional freeze. So I work with my chiropractor to get that all back online and start to feel better. And I do. Like I my body gets out of freeze and boom, they come back. It now took me up until this point, so 2020 to now 2025, to find out that my body was trying to release stored trauma and work through it. And in doing that, it was triggering my like fight or flight, freeze, whatever, but it was creating chronic pain. And it's because of my psoas. So I've been getting work done on my psoas with my chiropractor. And my psoas is what was creating all of my pain and symptoms, which is crazy because no one really talks about it. It's not even as studied as much as like other things. And since doing that, I've had less flares and I it like can feel like my body is like starting to work that trauma out. The reason I tell you all of this is because again, I started in 2016. I'm with someone abusive. I'm absolutely broke, dirt poor. I'm then a single mother going through a divorce and absolutely depressed and also in like hermit mode. I'm dealing with PTSD and OCD. I go through a spiritual awakening. I go on a trip for work with friends and my sister. I come back. I meet my now husband. We move in together. We get married. Boom, this chronic pain starts. The chronic pain lasts for years. I have another child. I go into like a deep depression after my second child. Then last year, I burned down my entire most successful business, like most money I've ever made in a year, most money I ever made in 6 weeks. Burn that completely down, go through a legal battle that took almost all of last year, lost $100,000 in my business, burned it all down, restarted. I tell you all this because in my journey has been nothing but pain, nothing but like deep sadness, trauma, healing, awakening, and through all of the things, I have transmuted that energy into success, into changing lives, into really deeply understanding the work that my soul is here to do as a shadow alchemist, to help other people transmute their energy, their feelings, their negativity, their pain into their power. Because you have been told this lie that in order to be successful, in order to manifest, in order to have the things you want, then what needs to happen is you need to be positive. You need to have positive thoughts. You need to be happy and grateful and feel so abundant all the time. And while I do have a deep rooted belief that everything that I've gone through is for a reason and it will work for me and I will always come out better because of whatever I've went through. And that is a deep rooted belief that helps me stay on this journey when I have wanted to quit so many times. It hasn't come from fucking sunshine and rainbows. It hasn't come from like love and light. And then I have a lot of clients that have been like, I I'm going through grief. I am going through the hardest seasons of my life. I am not in a good place. I am stressed. I am burnt out. I am anxious. I just had a child. Like I can't get myself to be love and light. You're not supposed to. You don't need to. What happens is the work that is required to create and sustain success, the motivation, the ambition, the continuing to go, that work is done in your darkest days. We don't heal and change and transmute when everything is going great. It's really easy to stay high vibe when everything's going great. It's really easy to have positive thoughts when we're making a lot of money and we have a lot of clients and we have a lot of momentum and attention. It's really easy in those moments. But your work is done in some of your darkest fucking days. And if you can do the work in your darkest days, you will transmute that energy into something positive, something successful, something that you actually want, right? But the truth about this is a lot of people go into hiding. They go into ghost mode. They go into like this space. And there's a difference between like hermiting because you're healing and like really understanding the depth of yourself and how to use that energy. That's one thing. But to like completely abandon your work and self-sabotage every single thing in your life or in your work or in your business and like just shut it down because of it is not the thing to do, right? This is where we have to say, okay, there's a fine line between like completely abandoning my work, my journey, my mission, and going into freeze where I do absolutely nothing but scroll my phone all day and stare at the TV and stare at my kids and just I'm in functional freeze versus I have got to really hermit myself from the world, maybe take a social media break, which is why I love that my business model is built off of social media. Like, and for the rest of the summer, I have like 15 collaborations. Like, I don't have to be on social media one time this summer. And it's liberating because I'm like, if I don't want to, I don't have to. And it just makes my life easier. Leads are still coming in. My email pipelines are still working. We're still promoting. Podcast is still going. Club, our free club's still going, right? People can still join Academy and I don't need social media at all. And that's perfect in these moments of like, I'm deeply healing and transmuting what I'm going through into my work, into why I'm here, which is part of the embodiment based business model that I've talked about on this podcast multiple times, but it's also what we teach inside Breadwinner Energy Academy. And this is why. This is why I teach this business model of embodiment is because it is part of being who you are. And if you spend your entire life on social media masking and in your business just masking the who you are, who you really, really are, and you're not actually embodying the truth, the depth, the pain, the things you've been through, what makes you you, then you're just like everyone else. We don't need more people here that are just like everyone else. We need the truth. We need truth seekers. We need people who are proof of possibility from your darkest days that you can do it too. And if I tell you the things that I have been through, the things that I've experienced, and how I've still been able to turn this into success by simply telling people the truth and using this to discover my own gifts and how I can change other people's lives, and you see that as if she can do it, so can I. Because a lot of you out here think it will never happen for me because I've had trauma, because I've been depressed or am going through a season of life that feels like a dark pit of hell. And you don't think that it will happen for you. And I want to be proof of possibility that that is simply not true. It's not true. All emotions are energetic. And you have the possibility, you have the capability to transmute and alchemize those pieces and look at this from how do I get through this period? What do I need to get through this period? Right? What do I need to learn from what I'm being shown right now? Why is this even on my path? Why did I agree to this in my soul contract? Who do I need to be able to help me who understands what this is like? And how do I transmute this into success as part of my journey? Because for most of you here, if you're service workers, impact workers, healers, empaths, you're soul led, which I would assume that if you're here and you're listening to this, that you probably are. That means that your soul contract came here to go through some of the darkest shit because you're going to use that as fuel to your fire to change lives. Because the truth is, in my opinion, the coaching industry is flooded with bullshit ass shit. It's just a dumpster fire of shit. But what is happening, what I'm seeing finally happen, is the people that are actually here on a mission to change lives for the collective need to hold on to and push that mission, because that's going to be what's more popular moving forward from here on out. It's not going to be basic business coaching, how do you make a lot of money, screenshotting. It's not going to be that anymore. It's going to be, are you actually here to change lives, and why? And why do you want to change lives? And what are you going to do to change lives? And for so many of you, I know that's you. You are a healer. You are an empath. You were put here for a reason to change lives. But in order to do that, you have to go through the contract of learning the lessons in order to change lives, because you cannot be a good coach, a good mentor, a good leader if you haven't gone through this shit yourself. If you have not experienced what it's like to go through the fucking pits of hell, you cannot be a good coach. And that is a fucking hill I will die on. But you have to start seeing that as, this is part of my journey to change lives. This is part of my mission to change lives. You're being initiated. Does it feel like shit? Yes. Is it unfair sometimes? Absolutely. But you are here on a mission, and that mission requires you to go through these things to change lives. The only thing that you have to do is be able to transmute that into the energy that you want to be successful, to be abundant, and to change lives and make impact. But you've got to let that out. You've got to let those pieces of you out. Inside my program, Breadwinner Energy Academy, this is what we do. It's your full fucking rebirth. We rebirth you into the world with money and magic and making impact. This is where, as a healer, an empath, an intuitive, or just like simply a service provider, but like an overgiver, you stop babysitting, you stop people pleasing, you stop masking, you stop hand holding clients, and you start really stepping into your leadership era and transmuting this pain into your power. So many of you know you're here to do powerful work. You know you're here to make an impact, not just to be a fucking coach. When reality, most of you don't even fit into the coaching industry at all. You're like, there's no depth here. I do not fit in. This is so surface level. This is such bullshit, right? But you have built your business based on exactly how they told you to build your business, and it doesn't work for you because they're in the game of money and you're in the game of service and changing lives. Your business is built from urgency, hustle, overgiving, overproving, masking. And it's not working anymore. It's literally crumbling. And it's not only just crumbling for you, it's crumbling for the entire industry. And you don't have a choice. You either allow it to crumble and you allow the change to transmute within you, or you get left behind because everyone else is realizing it's not going to work anymore for this industry. It just simply is not, right? So if you are sick of literally hiding behind the pain, the truth, the trauma of who you really are, and you're a martyr because you're literally suffocating and suffering in order to make a dollar, you've got to be inside this program. Inside this program, you're probably stuck between like suppressing your gifts, suppressing your magic, suppressing the truth, or just selling one-to-one, or you're selling more intimate packages that aren't scalable, or even if you have membership group, whatever, you're over giving, you're over hand holding. So you're not actually being a leader or in service to your people at all. And you're trapped within a box that can't grow, can't scale. You're exhausted, you're burnt out, you don't feel like it's a good energy exchange. You're not making the money you want to make, and you're feeling like this isn't even worth it. In order to make a lot of impact in the world with your magic and your gifts and your story and what you've been through, you have to be able to scale it. And in order to scale it, you have to be a leader, not a handholder, not a martyr, right? Inside this program, you're gonna go from helper to high priestess. You're gonna go from being a coach to literally being a channel, from a martyr to a moneymaker, a hustler to highly freaking paid. We are going to alchemize your relationship with money, power, leadership, and soul expression. If you are a person who has been through the depths of hell and you want to change not only your own life and your lineage and your children's lives, but you also want to make a big impact in the world, this is the container for you. And if you're like, I'm just not ready yet to sign up, that's fine. Come to the club. Come to the free club. It's down below. As always, thank you guys so much for listening today, and I will chat with you on the next episode.